Hello everybody, welcome to your new moon video for the new moon in Pushya Nakshatra that's going to take place on the 23rd of July 2017. The exactitude of the new moon will be at approximately 10:45 a.m. UK time. If you'd like to know what time that is in your particular neck of the woods, well, you can look that information up online. So what are we going to talk about today? The weather. Shall we talk about the weather? It's raining outside here, thunderstorms. You don't usually get thunderstorms around here, but some very intense weather going on outside. No, we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about sacrifice and the meaning of sacrifice, right? Which is, it should be pretty simple, right? Which is to make something sacred. Now let's talk about sacred. Let's talk about sanctity. Let's talk about how something which might be sacred to you might not be sacred to somebody else. And how something that is sacred to somebody else might not be sacred to you, right? I think it's more of the latter that we're dealing with in this particular time, because this particular new moon energy has you in a position where you're not really sure if the sacrifice that you're making is really a wise sacrifice. Perhaps you're not even really sure if the sacrifice that you're making is a sacrifice that you really want to make, right? Maybe this is something that's not sacred to you. And it's placing you in a position where you're going, you know what, I'm kind of placing myself in a situation where I'm accepting a lot of limitations, a lot of restrictions, and I don't really know if this is something that I really want to be doing. As a matter of fact, I'm beginning to feel a little bit frustrated. With this particular new moon, we've got the moon, the sun, and Mars all within Pushya Nakshatra and all within about 1.5 degrees of each other. And that's a lot of powerful energy. And, with Mars being in that position of being very closely combust, there's a lot of frustration that's kind of tying in with that. Mixed in with this, you also have a conjunction between Rahu and Mercury in Magha Nakshatra. When Rahu and Mercury conjunct each other, it can tend to create a lot of doubt inside of us in terms of what we really know or what we really think, or even if we're really using our discretion in the most positive of ways. And with those two planets in Magha Nakshatra, one part of you might be tempted because there's this building passion that's saying, you know what, I really just got to do something about whatever it is that you got to do that something about, okay? And if you'd like a little more information on that, at some point in the video, you'll see a link up in the video that'll take you to my astrological services page where you can schedule the consultation of your choice, right? So whatever area of your life that this is about, which is going to be partially determined by where the new moon is taking place in your chart, along with all the other planets that are in close proximity to the moon. But in one area, you're feeling like, you know what, something's got to happen. And something's got to happen soon. But you're not really sure, I should say, if the things that you're considering making happen are really the things that should happen at all. And so you're kind of finding yourself in a position where you're going, whose battle am I fighting anyway? Whose battle am I fighting, right? And you're going, is this something that, really is a wise decision in terms of carrying my life in the direction that I want to take it? And that may seem like it's something that's really selfish, but is it really selfish? We're all here with independent paths that we each have to walk. Like I said at the beginning, something that's sacred to you may not be sacred to me, and something that's sacred to me may not be sacred to you, right? And each person's path is very individualistic. And sometimes to make a sacrifice for another person is to deny who we are as an individual, right? And sometimes it's not the right thing to do at all. So, maybe it's appropriate that you're doubting, right? Sometimes the action that you might be considering, embarking upon, especially in this particular situation, is one in which if you take those steps, even though it might be something that somebody else wants, it may not necessarily be what that other person needs or that you yourself need at all. Okay, so again, it's bringing to your attention, is this a step that I really want to take? Is it the right step for me to consider? Mixed in with this, there's also this other part of you that goes, yeah, but you know what? If I do go down this path, well, you know, this better happen and this better happen. And, you know, this other person better recognize that, you know, what I'm really doing for them is, you know, making a huge sacrifice of my time, right? And a huge sacrifice of my effort and a huge sacrifice of what I really want to do with my life. You know what? That's the first sign. That's the first sign, isn't it? Right? One part of you is considering taking an action. Another part of you might want attention for this action. Going, you know what? I'm making a sacrifice for you, right? But that's the first sign that you're coming from the wrong space. That is not selflessness. That is selfishness. What is selfless is doing what's right by yourself, even though that sounds very contradictory. Okay? If you're tuning into your heart, if you know what's right for you, if you know what's right for you in your heart, and then you go, yeah, but I'm going to make a sacrifice and I'm going to do this other thing instead, even though it's really going to screw my life up, then you really need to take another look at that. Because chances are, if it's, for lack of a better way to put it, screwing your life up, it's screwing somebody else's life up, right? Because you're placing yourself in a position where you're making a sacrifice that you don't really want to make. You're making a sacrifice that's going against who you are as an individual. You're being the opposite of who you were meant to be. And if you want attention for that, then that's a sure sign that you're not likely going to get that attention. And if you get that attention, it's most likely not going to be authentic in the first place. And so what use is it, right? And so it is that you're longing for something better in your life, right? And one part of you is going, okay, well, maybe I need to do this to make it happen. But the other part is going, you know what? Maybe I need to do exactly the opposite thing, because inside of myself, I'm really feeling like I want to take this step because that's what's going to, you know, carry my life in a better direction. And I have to use that very loosely and very, very generally, right? Because it could be any number of things. It could be, you know, if I take this particular step, that's going to be the best step for my relationship with this person. If I take this particular step, that's going to place me in the best position where I'm going to be most secure in my life. If I take this step, that's going to be the step where I'm going to be the happiest. It could be a combination of all of those things, or it could be something very specific in your life. But somewhere there's a sacrifice that you're considering making, and you're not really sure if you should make this sacrifice. And you're not really sure if you're just kind of placing yourself in a situation where you're having a lot of imposed restrictions upon you, where instead you really could be free. And in the process, support freedom of those around you. Those are the things you need to consider. Those are the facts that you need to turn over in your head. In the good words of dear old William Shakespeare, to be or not to be. Are you going to be yourself, or are you going to be who somebody wants you to be? We have an eclipse season approaching, starting the 7th of August with the lunar eclipse, and another solar eclipse on the 21st of August. You can see a video on the lunar eclipse on my YouTube channel as well, but this is kind of taking you in that direction, and it's got you considering, what is it that I really want to do? And if you could use a little bit of guidance with that particular process, please do feel free to schedule one of the astrological services that are available through the astrological services page of my website. You should see a link in the video right about now. That's going to do it for your new moon video for the new moon in Pushya Nakshatra for the 23rd of July, 2017. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.